Good evening, friends. Welcome to another late night. Well, it's not that late, but welcome to another evening edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys, you know the drill, guys and girls. We are retired New York City police detectives. And if you like all things true crime related from that police detective perspective, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you get all things DutyRon when I go live or upload another video. Tonight, as you can see, I have my wonderful guest and co-host, Melanie Little. We're going to be talking about the Petito versus Laundrie. Brian's mother burned after reading letter. It's been allowed into evidence. A huge win for the Petito and Schmidt family, and that was all over the airwaves yesterday. It was a lot of things going on. Melanie and I communicated later on in the evening, but we decided that it was a good thing for us to go live and talk to you guys about it, because this is right up Melanie's alley. How you doing this evening, Melanie? And I know we got a lot to talk about.
We do have a lot to talk about, but I'm doing great. How are you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good.
Looks like you got some sun today. So it was a beautiful day here.
Yeah. I got out and got some rays. We had a little barbecue at the end of the day at the office, so it was good. Pat Riley, attorney for the Petito and Schmidt family, has been in court numerous times, battling over being able to present this letter that Roberta Laundrie, that's Brian Laundrie, the murderer of Gabby Petito's mom, that she penned at an unknown date and time. That's the big controversy here, because, as you know, this letter is not dated. It's one of my pet peeves. Anytime I write a Christmas card, birthday card, I always put the date on it. I don't know why. Maybe it's like police training that you document everything. But in this case, there's no date on it. And it is, by my terms, a real shady letter written to a son. And I want to get your take before we dive into this. As a mother, did that seem a little odd and off? Or do moms get a little weird like this with their sons, their adult sons?
I would never tell my son that I would bury a body for him with a hefty bag and a shovel. I would never tell my son that if he were in jail, I would bake him a cake with a file in it. No, I do not. I think this is incredibly strange. I think that it is incredibly good news for the plaintiffs in this case, because really what they were fighting over was the production of this letter. They didn't have a copy of it.
Right.
So they were fighting to make the defense turn over this letter. The defense filed a motion saying, no, we want a protective order. We should not have to give you this letter because it's embarrassing to Mrs. Laundrie, and therefore we shouldn't have to produce it. The judge disagreed, and they turned over the letter at the hearing. So that's the letter that we're talking about.
So it's a huge win for the Petito and Schmidt family on all fronts, because they were fighting to get this thing is submitted when this trial does kick off. Mm-hmm. Hey, I want to just highlight really quickly. Thank you for the $10 super chat. That's the Parnes family. That was the gentleman you just heard me talking on the phone with before we went live, and you were checking your speed. He's like the operations jack of all trades. He's the HR guy. He's everything, and he's down in Florida vacationing with his family. So he says, thank you. Love you, Ron. Thanks for holding down the fort. I'm always holding down the fort, Nate. You don't ever have to worry about me. I got this. I got it. But thank you for your support. Melody, there were statements after the court. I mean, we're going to get into a lot of what Judge Brewer said, but she had to hear from the, from the Laundrie side, what was that, 90 minutes
well, it was a motion day. It was motion day. I mean, there were 3 motions that she heard, and she heard them on oral argument, which is something that is not always done.
Right.
A lot of times in New York, we just submit papers and the judge decides based on papers. But in this case, she wanted oral argument on the 3 motions. The first one was the discovery motion for production of this letter. Now, understand that they're just asking for the letter to be exchanged, and her ruling was that the letter had to be exchanged. That does not mean that the letter will necessarily be admissible at trial. That would be a separate issue. But now that the letter has been exchanged and it's been made public, we all know what's in it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that everybody has been waiting. We did get a preview from Pat Riley, because this letter was turned over by the FBI, and I believe it was early spring or going into the summer of 2022. So sometime last year, when they called the families in, and they said, well, they called the Petito and Schmidt family, and they said, hey, we want to give back some of this evidence that we collected from the various search warrants at the Laundrie home and so forth. And then Pat Riley was there with them, obviously representing the family, and he saw this letter and he said, we want that letter.
What's this?
And yeah, and thank God that was really great work by this attorney, Pat Riley, for the family of the Petitos and Schmidt. And he said, we want that. And then the battle begun. The battle commenced. And the thing of it is that, we as lay people and folks who know about the court system, but the people on the outside that are watching this throughout the United States, throughout the world, they have this common thread, and this common question comes up is like, why can't the Laundries be arrested? They were aiding and abetting. They knew that their son killed Gabby Petito. Yeah, it looked like that from the actions that they showed us, which were nothing. They pled the fifth, right? They shut themselves down, courtesy of Bertolino, right? They shut it down. But my thing is that's the bad optics that set up this firestorm of everybody feeling that they had some criminal involvement in trying to shield their son from being arrested. There was an arrest warrant for him, albeit it wasn't for murder. It was for the unauthorized use of Gabby Petito's credit card to get himself back home from the Tetons after he killed her and parked her van inside their garage. And the parents said nothing. Now, I want to ask you, as a mother of 5, and I've already answered this question, if my son was dating, now they were engaged, if my son was engaged to a young woman that lived in my home, and they went on a whirlwind tour of first to Long Island to see her brother graduate high school, right? And go from June across country, and all of a sudden my son comes home without the girl he's been living with that he got engaged to,
right?
I'm gonna be like, hey,
where's Gabby?
Where the F is Gabby?
Yeah. But
they didn't do that. They just shut it down.
Well, we don't know what they did. What we do know is that they didn't tell anybody anything. I'm sure they had that conversation with him. So what they knew or should have known, it becomes, the question here.
Yeah. They retained counsel to protect their rights. And listen, I love, the right to remain silent. I love that right. You and I spoke before we went live. They had no obligation to say anything.
No, and that's what's so hard for people to swallow, is that there was no legal duty for them to say anything. But of course, we think there's a moral duty, right? So a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today, and look, I'm a lawyer, I'm a civil litigator. I've been a civil litigator for over 25 years. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I do. The law is not always as friendly as people would like it to be. And in a lot of cases, I tell my clients, if people would just apologize or do the right thing, there would be less lawsuits.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this case, we can't bring Gabby back. There's nothing that we can do to bring Gabby back.
Correct.
This is our system, and it sucks.
Yeah, and they've manipulated the system to work in their favor. But the most horrifying part about all this is when Nicole Schmidt, Gabby's mom, and Tara Petito, that's Gabby's father's wife, who was like a mom to her, and so was Jim Schmidt, Gabby's mom. They both got remarried, and Joe Petito and Tara live in Florida, and they were texting the Laundries. Nicole was texting the Laundries, All four of the parents were texting them. What happened? They blocked them.
They
They blocked
blocked
them on
them.
every social media. They blocked them.
They blocked them. I just want to do just a little quick timeline recap. There's so much to this case, and there's so much of a timeline. But Brian and Gabby left New York to head out west on July 1st of 2021. On September 1st of 2021, Brian returns to Florida with Gabby's van without Gabby. Gabby's parents are wondering where she is. They're texting the Laundries. On the 10th of September, they block. Roberta Laundrie blocks Nicole Schmidt on her phone and on Facebook, so she can't get any more messages from her. And up to this point, she was being non-responsive and not telling Nicole anything. On September 11th, the missing persons report on Gabby is filed, and the van is taken into custody. On September 14th, which is 3 days later, Brian Laundrie goes missing. He goes on a hike. On the 15th, it's reported that he's a person of interest. I'm sorry, the 14th, he goes on a hike. The 15th, he's reported as a person of interest. On the 17th is when his parents report him missing. So he's already been gone for 2 days or 3 days until they even report him missing. On the 19th, Gabby's remains were found at Grand Teton National Park in Wyoming. And then on October 20th, Brian's remains were found.
And one little piece that we left out of that little, I know that wasn't
Oh, the vacation.
The Fort DeSoto Park camp vacation where there was Oreos and kumbayas and there was fires and they left that location without him. Everyone exited that location not Brian. So
right.
Again, that's another piece into this puzzle is how are you having a family camping trip in Fort DeSoto, I believe it was. And listen,
September 6th and 7th that was. I had it right here. I did not have it in this one over here.
There you go. But again, these are also details that compound the Laundries. I mean, Roberta's daughter is the only one that came and spoke on her front lawn. And she came and spoke to a couple of YouTube people that stuck cameras in her face because her son was petrified inside because of all the screaming, yelling out in front of the house. She came out to try to say, hey, could you guys, quiet down? But she's the only one from that entire family that ever made a statement. Right. And she was asked, where's Gabby? Did you know? Did your parents know? And you know what she said? I don't know if they knew. She didn't say, oh, no, my mom would never do that. My mom, there is no way. My parents are good people. She, by a show of hands here in the chat, for those of you watching and those of you who've been following this, we, as you know, Melanie, have over 60,000 subscribers who subscribe to this channel. While
160. During that,
we were speaking about Gabby Petito, 60,000 people subscribed to this channel because of the coverage that we did. And we did extensive coverage with New York City medical examiners, with forensic anthropologists, with forensic odontologists. We did the dentistry. We talked about everything in this case. But by a show of hands here, how many of you remember Brian Laundrie's sister coming out on her front lawn with her husband and saying, I don't really know if my parents know what happened? She didn't definitively say, oh, no, they would never not say that. See, a bunch of number ones in the chat. A lot of people have been following this case and have seen that interview. So the Laundries have kind of created this not big fan club. So people,
the optics are bad.
Very
the optics are really bad by them remaining silent and walking away from cameras, just pretending the cameras weren't even there. I remember vividly that footage of Roberta in her driveway, just walking away from the camera, not a care in the
Yeah.
How do you go on vacation for 2 days?
Yeah. So
Gabby's missing.
The whole thing was just utterly just bizarre. And now we have to look at, again, as I always say, the victims' families. You have to now look at Nicole and Jim Schmidt. We have to look at Joe and Tara Petito, and they're sitting there horrified at the lack of communication, not even a hey, we can't talk to you. We have an attorney, but you can ask our attorney anything you want. There was nothing. They just shut it down. And that's what made this thing so horrible. And that is why people are, how is someone supposed to believe that she penned that letter before this whole incident happened? I find the wording, which we're going to get into in that letter in a little bit, very, very sus. Very sus.
And her affidavit that accompanied the motion. So not only did she pen that letter, but she had to swear to tell the truth in this affidavit, which we're also going to look at.
Right.
In support of the motion for a protective order, because she didn't want this letter to be given to the plaintiffs. And she makes certain statements in that letter too that she swore to. So we'll take a look at that. I mean, the affidavit, sorry.
Melanie, if it's okay with you, at the end, towards the end of the show, we're going to highlight hashtag Melanie, hashtag DutyRon. We're going to take questions because I think it's fair. A lot of the coverage from some of the big YouTube channels and some of the big news stations, like I watched JB's coverage for hours yesterday. I watched quite a few people cover this case. Emily D. Baker, the lawyer. I'm not sure because I didn't watch all of their coverage, but I did scroll through it and I didn't see any actual live questions come in. So I'm going to share the link towards the end of the show. If you are interested in asking Melanie, who is a civil litigator, she's an experienced trial attorney, 28 years?
Yeah,
maybe
a little more.
Maybe more, maybe less. She's given her soul to this thing.
Yeah.
So Melanie is this is her wheelhouse. We're gonna highlight and feature your questions because I think with live interactive streaming like this, I think our audience is what's most important to us, Melanie.
Yeah, we love to engage with our audience and we love to answer your questions. So please.
Yeah. So for those of you here, please be patient. Consider giving this a thumbs up. If you're not yet subscribed, subscribe. I'm going to play a little piece. This is from both the attorneys, Melanie, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
I think it's important that we hear what Pat Riley has to say and also Matt Luca. Matt represents the Laundries. He's going to go first. You know what? It seemed like in that hearing yesterday in that Sarasota Circuit Court, it seemed like Pat Riley was very complimentary. He let them go first. When he
it was their motion, so they do go first.
No, but I heard the judge say, she gave the option. She said, "Do you want to go first?" And because I listened to it from early on, at least unless I heard it wrong, but there was this whole thing.
I don't know. I thought she was talking to the two defense attorneys, which one wanted to go first, because remember, there's a defense attorney representing the Laundries and a defense attorney representing Bertolino, the attorney. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
All right, here we go. Let's let it rip. So this is first, and this is only 5 minutes, so bear with it, folks. It's not going to be a long one. This is outside the courtroom after everything was over with yesterday.
A long day, and we appreciate Judge Brewer giving us as much time as we needed to take. She was very accommodating.
This is the guy who spoke the most. I think he spoke for over 90 minutes, and there was a lot of people in the chat saying, "Judge, it's the Gong Show. Get the hook out. Get him off." But she was very patient, and so was everybody else. They let him speak. We'll let the rest of this play.
This is the attorney for the Laundries, right? Matt Luca?
Yes. Yep, Matt Luca.
In that regard, I feel pretty good. I feel about as good as I did walking in. We were able to make all of our arguments, and hopefully they'll be persuasive.
Yeah, with letting them use the letter as well, we know that the letter has now been handed over to Mr. Riley. What are your concerns in that aspect?
Well, obviously we were concerned about how the letter might be used, that it could be embarrassing and whatnot. But it's part of the case now. It's part of discovery. And so I'm sure it's something that we will address again as the case progresses.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about that letter? We know that we were told that there was references to children's books, but just hearing Mr. Riley, it didn't sound like that. Yeah,
we disagree with Mr. Riley's characterization. So within the letter, out of context could be inflammatory, but they appear in a series of sort of fanciful descriptions of how much somebody would love somebody else. So for example, if I
Can you
there's
pause
a
this for 1
reference in
second?
there about if Brian went to the moon, his
Say it again, Mo.
Fanciful. He's going to use this word twice. Fanciful descriptions. Fanciful.
I'm going to back it up. Yeah,
Yeah.
this odd.
how much somebody would love somebody else. So, for example, if I there's a reference in there about if Brian went to the moon, his mother would be waiting for him to come back. If Brian hated his mother's guts, that she would get new guts. Things that are obviously not real. They're just fanciful descriptions, again, of how somebody would love somebody no matter what. And so in that context, we believe that the letter, as Mrs. Laundrie said, was written prior to Brian and Gabby's trip. The letter doesn't reference Gabby in any way, which would be unlikely if it was written after what happened between Gabby and Brian. So that's our position, and we believe the facts will eventually bear that out.
Can you prove that the letter wasn't given to Brian on his flight back to Moab?
Again, other than what Mrs. Laundrie has stated in her affidavit, that's our proof. There's certainly.
So did you catch on to what that guy just asked, Melanie? Did you?
Yeah. Can you prove that she didn't give it to him on the flight back to Moab?
Right, because he had flown back, and
Mhm.
yeah, so there's no date on it, so he couldn't have answered that because it would just be speculation. So
Yeah. Well, he's got to represent his client, and he has to believe what his client tells him.
No proof that she gave it to him at that time that you described.
I just don't think that they would put burn after reading if it was just a letter to your son.
Well, so if you look at Mrs. Laundrie's affidavit, she states in there that that's a reference to a book that Gabby had given Brian that was called Burn After Writing. And basically the premise of that book.
It was Burn After Writing, not reading, right?
Good cover. Good cover. Isn't there also a movie called Burn After Reading? I mean, this is just okay. Whatever. Go on.
He's stating that his client that Gabby gave her son a book.
Yeah, and that's why she wrote that. Okay.
Bullshit.
Book is you can write your personal thoughts down and have that outlet, but then you burn it after writing it so that it gives you some closure to whatever it is that you were describing without other people knowing your personal thoughts. Thank you.
Matthew Luca speaking here outside the courthouse in the aftermath of a lengthy set of hearings this afternoon.
And that was our good friend JB. As you guys know, I'm good friends with him. Him and I were communicating all well, not all day because he was busy with this, but all last night, early this morning. I've had a text string back and forth with JB, a great live interactive journalist, and has a lot of class. He really does a great job of reporting respectfully, and kudos to JB on his coverage. He must be exhausted today because he was live, I think, for over 10 hours yesterday. So
That was a good question.
yeah.
Mr. Riley, how do you feel? We know that the judge has 2 more motions to make a ruling on it, but as you said, that Judge Carroll had really already made these rulings, and it's almost a disgrace to his credit as a judge to go back to these.
I would agree. I think the arguments that were made, if I were Judge Carroll, would be insulting to me because they argued that he didn't give a thorough consideration to all of the elements of the cause of action, which is clearly not true. His decision was very well written, very reasoned, and he took his time putting it together. So I think they're just seeking another opportunity to raise the same arguments, and they should fall.
Are you concerned that, I don't want to call it a waste of time, but that they'll continue to drag things out with motions like this?
Well, if the court denies their motions, then there's nothing more they can do to stop it from moving forward. We'll begin or continue with the discovery phase and then ultimately move towards trial.
How do you feel getting that letter in your hand today?
It's a victory. We're happy to have it. We fought hard to get it. We've been fighting for over a year to get that letter.
And once you have that letter, we've heard some of the phrases, some of the wordings that were written in that letter. How do you think that will help the case?
Well, the letter suggests that Roberta Laundrie would, if she needed to bury a body, she'd bring up a shovel and garbage bags. It said that if she went to jail, she'd bake a cake with a file in it. I know in court I said shiv, but that was my recollection from a year ago. It does say file. So in my mind, that clearly shows that she knew that Gabby Petito was deceased, and it's up to the jury to decide when that letter was written. Just because Mrs. Laundrie says it was written before the trip doesn't mean it was written before the trip.
I guess for the family too, not having Brian alive to go to trial, how will this continue to help with not closure completely, but just closing out that chapter?
Well, the whole intent of this is to get answers. There are still many questions that the Petito family has about what the Laundrie family knew, what they did with the knowledge that they knew, and really why they didn't come forward and say anything. I don't know that that question will ever get answered because the court has found had the right not to say anything, but there's a lot of questions that the family would like to have answered before they can get, if you can get closure at all in a situation like this, but at least get some closure. All right, thank you.
All right, so I wanted to get your thoughts on both those attorneys' statements. But before we do get into that, Marcy 1 says her father had unexpectedly passed away. And Marcy 1, we send you I'm so sorry. So we're sending you prayers and strength. Melody, let's jump into this because this, again, there was a lot said here.
I think we need to read the letter.
You want to read the letter?
Don't you think we need to read the letter? I don't know that everyone has seen the letter. I mean, I can read it. I have it on my screen.
Absolutely. I want to get it up as you're reading it, the letter. Let's just make sure I have it here. Let me go to Enton's Twitter. Give me 2 seconds. I know I should have had this done. Okay, here we go.
It's okay. I have it.
I got it. So for those of you, this is like kind of the best that I can do with making this. Hold on a second. Let me make it full screen. Can everybody
I have it full screen if you want me to read it out loud on mine.
Okay, yeah, if you don't mind.
It's very small. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want you to remember I will always love you, and I know you will always love me. You are my boy. Nothing can make me stop loving you. Nothing will or could ever do that. No matter what we do or where we go or what we say, we will always love each other. If you're in jail, I will bake you a cake with a file in it. If you need to dispose of a body, I will show up with a shovel and garbage bags. If you fly to the moon, I will be watching the skies for your re-entry. If you say you hate my guts, I'll get new guts. Remember that love is a verb, not a noun. It's not a thing. It's not words. It is actions. Watch people's actions to know if they love you, not their words. And then this is a quote from the Bible. Therefore, I am certain that neither death nor life, nor angels, nor the ruling spirits, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers from above, nor powers from below, nothing in the entire created world can separate our love. Neither hostile powers, nor messengers of heaven, nor monarchs of earth, nothing has the power to separate us. End quote. Quoting Romans 8:38, extended version with an exclamation point after that. And then she says in parentheses, nothing can separate us, not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not threats, not even sin. The thinkable or unthinkable can get between us, or the thinkable, unthinkable. Not time, not miles and miles and miles. And then the envelope says Brian Christopher Laundrie, in parentheses, burn after reading.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That ending sentence in parentheses, nothing can separate us, not hatred, not hunger, not homelessness, not threats, not even sin, not the thinkable or unthinkable can get between us. I don't know about you, Mel, but I want to ask the people in the chat, what was your thoughts, chat, on the wording in parentheses at the end? And also the reference to, if you need to bury a body, I'm going to bring a shovel and garbage bags. Like, what mother says that to their child?
This could be taken a couple of ways. It could have been a mother's desperate plea for answers because she knew that something was wrong and she was trying to get him to trust her to tell her what was wrong, to tell her where Gabby was, to tell her what he did with Gabby. This could have been something before the fact. And if it is true that she wrote this before they left on the trip, isn't this a little bit of a foreshadowing that I know what you're capable of? I know what you might possibly do. And even if you do something horrible, I'll always be there for you. Either way, it doesn't look good for her.
The optics are horrible in this letter.
No matter when it was written.
Yeah.
Because if she wrote it before they left on the trip, it's as if she knew or should have known that he had violent propensities, that he was capable of murder, and that even if he went to jail, she would still be right beside him and would never tell a soul. So it's a big problem.
Yeah, it makes you question, does violence and or domestic violence run in this family on the father's side or generational? We don't know, but that would be something that I would be interested in finding out. Not that this would help this case, or nothing that we find out now is really going to help, other than if it's something that's in a criminal nature. But this civil lawsuit, what we're talking about here, this piece, this letter, and I now that it's been revealed to us as of yesterday, now we have a really good idea of what kind of family this is, and the actions leading up to Gabby Petito's remains being found, the family outings with marshmallows and campfires and pictures on the swing, this kumbaya kind of thing, when you have a young woman who's unaccounted for, and her van was parked in your garage.
Yeah.
Just horrifying. Let's go to the chat and say hello to a couple of people, because Natasha Richardson's here, Sean B., who is such a supporter of the Petito Foundation, the Petitos and Schmitz. I'm wearing my Gabby Petito. I bought this at the golf outing, or I might have even got it online at GabbyPetito.org, GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. I'm going to link it in the description, so everybody, if you want to pick up some merch or some shirts and support the foundation, they're doing unbelievable stuff over there in their daughter's name. So yeah, Becky is in the chat, and she said they all lived in the same house. She knew her son was abusive.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's an assumption, but she certainly knew what her son's capabilities were. I mean, I know my two boys. I have two sons, and I know exactly what they are capable of and how their levels of respect. And not to toot my own horn, but I taught my sons how to treat people right. And if there's something that seems a little fugazi or just a little bit off, I'm on them, like flies on shit. So I'm keeping a close eye, and I know you are too, because I hear how you talk about your kids, Melanie. So it doesn't matter if they're 30 or 25 or 21 or 18 or 12.
Yeah.
You gotta know what they're doing.
People are saying that we're blowing this out of proportion, that it was really nothing more than a mother's love for her son.
Please.
I don't see that. I respect your opinion. And I think that, at one point, I think her attorney says she was joking. It was just a way of, that's how they joked with each other. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We joke about killing people and
right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Look at what Bama Sin said, and thank you for the super chat and the support. How could you talk about helping you hide a body in one breath and quote the Bible in another? The envelope says it all. Burn after reading.
Which begs the question, how many other letters did she write him that he actually did burn? Because he didn't burn this one.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, lots of opinions, lots of differences of opinions. And, in this thing here, we all just have to be sensible and reasonable. And we have to look at the totality of what happened with Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie, and then what happened in the days and months that followed, and now years that followed, with the Laundrie family, with Chris and Roberta Laundrie. I don't know, how they could sleep at night, but, knowing that their son took another person's life, and to not even make a statement about it, not even to send, thoughts and prayers, not even to extend some type of remorse or sorrow. I know that they're going through it too, because their son chose the coward's way out and took his own life, right? But there's another element to this that's even, and I'm going into places where I didn't want to go, but I have to say this. There's another element to this that makes this, just put it onto the pile, just add it onto the pile of, stuff that makes you question. Roberta and Chris on I believe a Sunday evening notifies the authorities, or maybe a Saturday night into a Sunday. I think they went into the camp, into that muddy marsh, with a news reporter from Fox, right? And no law enforcement, or law enforcement walking behind them at a very good distance. And they were able to go into the park and find Brian Laundrie's remains.
Right. They're the ones who found him.
They found him. Things that make, and we had JB and all the news outlets doing hundreds of hours of helicopter overhead surveillance of hundreds of law enforcement all over the southwestern Florida region, all over, coming from all over the country to help a hand and search for this, for his remains for such a long time. And then they just prance in, start walking in, and I mean, I have coverage on this extensive.
Yeah.
And they find him. Things that make you go, Sue Mina, thank you for the super chat. She says she knew exactly what he did. Hope justice is served for Gabby and her family. And this, I don't even know if this is about justice.
It's not. It's not about justice. I mean, their attorney said that their intent in filing this lawsuit is to get answers. And what I tell my clients is, unfortunately, the only thing I can do for you is get you money. That's what civil lawsuits are. It's not about finding answers. I can't find you answers. I can't bring your daughter back. I can't turn back the hands of time. The only thing a civil lawsuit can do is give you, and there's no amount of money that can ever replace your daughter. Yeah. So it's, where's the justice? There's no justice. This guy killed himself before he could be prosecuted and thrown in jail.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. It's sad. Here's footage from October 21st. I want to just show everybody this. I'm going to add it to the stream. This is where the human remains were found from Brian Laundrie, that the parents found them. Just shows you the vast area that they were covering, and at this Florida preserve. I want to go back to the beginning of it. That's the exact location right there. That's the triage tent where they found his skeletal remains. And again, like I said, we did extensive live streaming in regards to this with our forensic pathologist, a forensic anthropologist, and a forensic odontologist. That's the forensic dentist. But this is what law enforcement and searchers were doing for an extended period of time. And there was also questions here. Sharon says, did he do it to himself? Did he in fact kill himself? I mean, that's what the medical examiner's report said. And there's people who question it. There's people who question every aspect.
I mean, the remains weren't found until the 20th of October. He goes hiking on the 14th of September. That's 5, 6, 7 weeks. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah.
His mother went to pick up his car at some point, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They had to go pick his car up because they were going to tow it. It was parked there, and they got notification that they were going to tow it out. I have so much footage on this stuff. I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to get sidetracked here. Banfield did an interview with Pat Riley. I'm going to save us all a little bit of Banfield and go to the 2-minute, and she reads the letter, and I'm going to go to the 2-minute and 10-second mark. This is most of her talking is mostly over. I want us to take a listen to what Pat Riley said on Banfield last night. So let's take a listen to this.
But the civil suit certainly does allege that they helped their son evade capture and caused immeasurable harm. Trial set for May of next year, and I'm so happy to welcome to the program Pat Riley. He is the attorney for Gabby Petito's parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt. Pat, thanks so much for being with me today. How big of a victory is this to be able to use that letter, the burn after reading letter, in the civil suit?
Good evening, Ashley. Thanks for inviting me. It's a very important piece of the building blocks of circumstantial evidence that we have that demonstrate that the Laundries knew that Brian had killed Gabby, that they passed that information on to Attorney Bertolino, and then Attorney Bertolino issued that statement on September 14th of 2021, in which he stated that the family hoped that Gabby would be reunited with her family. So it's a big piece of evidence. The document is very damning, in my opinion, to Roberta Laundrie. It's a very odd letter that she wrote.
It is. Here's what she has said in response. She said, "I truly love my son. I simply wanted to convey to him how much he meant to me and how much I loved him. I am sure people use phrases all the time to express to their loved ones the depths of their love. Although I chose words that I thought would be impactful with Brian, given our relationship, the letter was in no way related to Gabby." Do we know the date of the letter? Do we know the timing of the letter? Because that certainly would be significant.
It would be, but it's undated. So no, we don't know when the letter was written. Of course, Roberta Laundrie says it was written before Brian and Gabby went on the trip. I don't know if she knew that Brian was going to commit a crime and could possibly go to jail and she'd need to help bury a body. But it's just as likely that this was written when you read it in context and read it in its entirety.
I want to just stop it just for a second. I'm not going to put us back on, Mel, but everyone can hear us. Brian Laundrie has no criminal record. So why is his mother saying, if you're in jail? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. My wife would never write that to my kids who are straight-laced and law-abiding citizens.
Yeah.
Let's let the rest of this play. It's only about another minute.
Entirely likely that this was written after Gabby was murdered. Jail, and she'd need to help when the letter was written. Of course, Roberta Laundrie says it was written before Brian and Gabby went on the trip. I don't know if she knew that Brian was going to commit a crime and could possibly go to jail and she'd need to help bury a body. But it's just as likely that this was written when you read it in context and read it in its entirety. It's entirely likely that this was written after Gabby was murdered.
Is there something in particular that the letter says that makes you think that?
Well, the letter starts out and says, I just want you to remember I will always love you and I know you will always love me. That's not how I imagine a letter would start out if a mother was simply writing to express her love, especially when you throw in the language of bringing a shovel and a garbage bag to bury the body. That's not like any letter I've ever written to any of my children, nor did I receive a letter like that from my mother at any point in my life.
Thank you for watching. Go to.
No, thanks. So yeah, Joey Brooklyn puts up a great point. Hey, Ron, can a forensics specialist, a forensic handwriting specialist, or a forensic analyst, handwriting analysis, we've had them on. I've had Sina Wong, and I also had a lieutenant from the police department in the Midwest. I may ask them to come back and take a peek at this, or I may just send it to them and ask them to look at it, because I did a show with them. We analyzed the very first letter that we had, that we were all viewing for the first time from Brian Laundrie, his confession, right? That was in his dry bag, and there's questions, that nobody can answer, because nobody but Roberta Laundrie can answer, and we have to rely on her, to be honest. I'm not so sure that even if this was to go to a jury, that they would believe her. I don't think they'll be able to look back at her past, because they're not supposed to know about the case, right, Melanie? That sticks with the civil part as well.
Yeah, I mean, you want an impartial jury who doesn't know a lot about the case, which is going to be really hard.
Right. So this has been broadcast all over the place. But thank you for that, Joey Brooklyn. Let's look to the chat, because we're into the 45-minute mark.
Okay, I want to clarify something that I said, because I saw a lot about this in the chat. I did not say that this lawsuit was about the money, that they brought this lawsuit for money. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that is our system. People are saying it's about accountability. Of course, we would love them to take accountability, but the lawsuit is not going to do that. If a jury finds them accountable, if this gets to a jury and a jury finds them accountable, there's some measure of justice to be there. Yes, I would argue. I do not think they brought this for money at all. And any money that they're saying in the chat that they did receive would probably be donated to her foundation. And that's a wonderful thing. You know, if we can also raise money for her foundation by talking about this case, that would also be a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Maybe some good can come of this.
Yeah.
But that is just the system that we have. We can't, we may not get the answers that we're looking for through this lawsuit.
Right.
And even if she has to give a deposition, which is part of the discovery process, we don't know that what she says is the truth.
Right. Yeah.
She's already said she'll bury a body for him.
We also know this about the money. The Gabby Petito Foundation has donated over $100,000 to domestic violence in the name of Gabby, in the name of their daughter. And they plan to raise awareness for the missing, help fund search organizations that search for the missing. They're doing a lot of great stuff. They're not buying new houses and new cars. So any money that is going to come in is going to go into that foundation, and it's going to be in their daughter's name to help other people, you know, scholarship funds and so forth. You can go over to GabbyPetitoFoundation.org. I'm going to put it in the description on how to go and look at what they're doing. But again, you know, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. The bottom line is that, you know, a civil suit, if, like you said, if it does go forward, there's going to be a lot to prove here. And as you say, the jury is the fact finders, and they're the ones who are going to dole down the truth, the verdict. So
right
at the end of the day, it's only going to be what they're presented and what is put forth.
Right.
You know,
they're going to decide. They're going to weigh Roberta's credibility. They're going to get to decide when that letter was written based on the evidence. They're going to get to decide what she meant by what she wrote.
Yeah.
You know, and they also are going to look at Brian's letter, right? His suicide note said something like, "Don't blame my parents."
Right. Yeah. Well, I have it, and I'll link it in the description. I thought that Pat Riley was very, you know, he was kind of praising Judge Carroll, right, for his the work that he did,
right,
to get into where we were yesterday, right?
Because this case has already survived a motion to dismiss. So they've already made a motion to dismiss the case, saying there's no case here. You can't state a cause of action. They did not owe the Petito family any information. Right. Therefore, this case should be thrown out, and he did not throw it out.
Correct.
So
some would argue that Pat Riley was kind of sucking up to Judge Carroll, but I don't think he was sucking up. I think he was giving him credit where credit was due. And any good civil attorney is going to, you know, want to point out some of the goods that a judge has done.
Right. But his point was in saying, listen, Judge Carroll has already decided this case can move forward. It should not be dismissed. You know, the other motion today was on behalf of Bertolino because Bertolino was just brought in as a defendant in the second amended complaint.
Right. And people have some questions like, why was the judge switched to Judge Brewer from Judge Carroll? I don't know the answer to that, because civil law is really not my realm, and I don't think that we have had enough chance to really look into why there was that switch. It could just be a matter of scheduling. Maybe Judge Carroll was on something else, maybe hearing another case. Who knows? Yeah,
I don't know. I could find out the answer, I'm sure, but I don't know.
We'll get into it. Rose, thank you for being here. She says, DutyRon, is the letter hearsay? I will yield that to Attorney Melanie Little.
No, because she's already admitted to writing the letter. She admitted to writing the letter in her affidavit. If you want to pull up that affidavit, there's just a couple of points that that we can go through.
Absolutely. I'll pull it up.
She makes more admissions.
And Rose, I want to say thank you for inquiring about Ed. Ed has got some personal things that he's dealing with, and he's traveling. He's in San Francisco right now, personal family stuff. So Ed's running into a little patch of a lot of things that he's dealing with. So everybody be patient. And just so you know, for the fans of Ed, I know a lot of you guys, obviously, we all love Ed. We can't wait for him to come back full force. And when he's back, you're going to know it. But yeah, that's Ed's got a lot going on right now. So keep him in your thoughts and prayers. Everything's okay with him, but he's just got a lot on his plate. So where did we have that on? Enton?
So that, thank Brian Enton for tweeting all of these documents to us. Yeah.
Brian's awesome.
So in order to make this motion for the protective order to prevent the exchange of this letter, the attorney has to submit an affidavit from someone with actual facts. In this case, the affidavit is written by Roberta Laundrie, not by her. The attorney's drafted and she signs it basically based on information that she tells them. So on the first page of the affidavit in paragraph 4, she says, I wrote the letter to my son, Brian Laundrie, on or about the end of May 2021. Although I do not know the exact date I wrote the letter, I do know that I wrote and gave it to Brian before Brian and Gabby left Florida for New York, which was on June 2nd, 2021. And then in parentheses says Brian and Gabby went from Florida to New York before they went out west. So she's claiming that she wrote this letter in May, end of May, before they left to go to New York on June 2nd. That's the first point that she makes. So now this is an admission on her part. She also says in the next page, the reason that she wrote this letter, the purpose of the letter was to reach out to Brian while he and I were experiencing a difficult period in our relationship. I don't know what that means. They had a difficult period in their relationship, so she's joking about burying bodies and him going to jail. I don't know what that means. It's all very fugazi. Brian and I always had a very open and communicative relationship, and in the months prior to the trip, our relationship had become strained. Brian and I shared a love of stories, and some of the language in the letter was using similar phrases to describe the depth of a mother's love. The two books that come to mind are The Runaway Bunny and Little Bear. I have both of those books in my kids' library. Neither one of them talks about bodies or burying or putting a file in a cake when the little runaway bunny is in jail. It's just not there. She says, in short, I was trying to connect with Brian and repair our relationship as he was planning to leave home. And I had hoped this letter would remind him how much I loved him. Was he leaving home for good? Was he moving out for good? Or was he just going on a trip for a couple of months to start a blog about van life?
Yeah.
It's a little curious, right?
Very.
And then in the last page, she says, while I now know that I used words that seem to have a connection with Brian's actions of taking Gabby's life, I never would have fathomed the events that unfolded months later between Brian and Gabby would reflect the words in my letter. Well, I think that the letter belies that statement. I never would have fathomed the event. Of course you fathomed it because you wrote about it.
Yeah.
You wrote about him killing someone and potentially going to jail. So there's a real disconnect here between what she says in this affidavit and what I interpret the letter, or what maybe a reasonable person would interpret that letter to mean. She says, my words to Brian were meant to convey that my love for him was a lighthearted and quirky reminder. Okay. Again, and bodies in jail, lighthearted and quirky, like it's bizarre. And then she says it was not, there's been speculation that this letter was found in his backpack when they found his remains. She says that is not true because the FBI had the letter in their possession and questioned members of my family about it prior to October 20, 2021, when my husband and I found Brian's remains in the reserve. Okay. So they had this letter prior to them finding Brian's body, but not prior to Gabby's disappearance. It doesn't say that. She says it's nothing more than a private communication between myself and my son, and I never expected anyone else would read it, and that if you release this letter, it's going to embarrass me, and I don't want to embarrass him. And then she says at the end, I am now appreciative that he actually kept it.
Amazing. And that
I don't know. Everyone can draw their own conclusions from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that is her sworn to affidavit.
Does it say when that was filed, that affidavit? I think it was
it's dated
March 1st or
this is dated March. It's cut off, but either March 1st or March 3rd.
Okay. Early in March.
This year. Yeah.
If anybody has that date, put it in the chat, but we know it's in March sometime. So many people in the chat are going wild right now. Here's Girl Friday, embarrassed, question mark. How about ashamed? Your son did this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, we can do this all night. But I want you guys to, I want to highlight hashtag Melanie, your questions, and I'm going to share a link. I'm going to take two people, Mel, if you don't mind, two.
Sure.
We'll do two. Debbie Galloway is here, Fuzzy Doxy. Let's just say hello to everyone in the chat. Laura Means, thank you. I think she knew Gabby was dead before he left the Tetons. That's why they hired the attorney immediately.
Yeah, well, they believe that Gabby was murdered on August 27th. On August 28th, Brian contacted his parents. On the 29th, they contacted Bertolino. On the 1st, he returns home without Gabby, and on the 2nd, they send a retainer to Bertolino. Connect the dots, right? I would have to agree with you.
Yeah, well said there. Hey, I always like to do these polls in addition to the hashtag Melanie questions, hashtag DutyRon. Put a 1 in the chat if you believe that Roberta and Chris Laundrie knew what their son, Brian Laundrie, did when he came home to their house without Gabby. Put a 2 if you feel that they didn't know and that they are just innocent victims of their son's nefarious activities and actions. So 1 if you believe that they knew. Put a 2 if you feel that they didn't. And for those of you who put 2s, don't be shy. We're streaming on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch tonight. So to all my Twitch folks, if there are any watching on Twitch, thank you for joining. And thank you to everyone across all platforms watching Crime Time with DutyRon and Melanie Little. That is our favorite, too bad, Joe Murray, our favorite attorney, Melanie Little. I love you, Joe. Just kidding. So I didn't see any 2s yet. I'm waiting for a 2. I know somebody might get frisky and put a 2 down just because I said that, but I didn't see 1. Mel, did you see 1 too?
I saw a lot of ones.
Oh, there's a 2. Josie. So up until this point, you know, of course, now that I said it, someone's going to throw in a 2, but I respect the number 2s, but I also I stand with the number 1. So here's our good friend Linda Tavis over on Facebook. She authenticated, so now we could see her profile, which is great. For those of you who are just coming up as Facebook users, you didn't answer the question of authentication. StreamYard needs that to actually highlight your profile picture, and that's the only reason they asked to do it. She says, hashtag Melanie and DutyRon, an absolute number 1. They knew. Wow.
Well, I mean, listen, if something happened, like we surmised that he was abusive, that they were in an abusive relationship. And I think the body cam footage of the Moab police that pulled them over on that traffic, yes, where she was crying and making apologies for him. And she had the classic signs of a victim of domestic violence. If something happened and maybe it was an accident, he didn't mean to kill her. Maybe he got out of control and he killed her by accident. Let's just say that he called his parents to tell him about it. And they are like, all right, you got to just shut the F up. Like we got to get a lawyer. We're just going to just come home and we'll deal with it. That's a real possibility.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a strong possibility, but unfortunately we'll never know because we're not getting the truth. We're not getting any statements. Bertolino, you know, he's looking to get out of this, you know, as a co-defendant. It's not unheard of. You don't really hear a lot of attorneys, civil attorneys, family attorneys being called as co-defendants in civil cases. I'm sure it does happen, but you don't hear about it often. It's a you know, odd position for him to be in, and that one is also a tough one to prove.
Yeah.
Some people ask me, "Hey, DutyRon, what do you think? Do you think that he'll be kind of dismissed from this case?" And it would be a 50-50 guess. I don't know. You know, nobody knows. But it is what it is. There's just a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. I'm just looking at my notes here. I think we covered everything. I do want to look at the chat, and I promised 2 people. And if you call in, you need to engage your camera, engage your microphone. If you have headphones, put your headphones in, no feedback, and things of that nature. But keep it on this civil case. Right, Mel? Let's try to keep it to what we're speaking.
Yeah. My neighbors are setting off fireworks, and I'm thinking, why are they doing fireworks? It's because it's the Thursday Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's Thursday night. They're starting early.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, let's invite some.
If you call in, it's like WLIR, you're the 18th caller. Remember, and you had to be the 20th caller to win the tickets.
I love WLIR.
And they'd be like, "You're the 18th caller." And hang up. Oh, you're the 18th caller.
We did it. We got in.
We got in, but we didn't win the tickets.
I'd be putting it on speed dial to try to just keep it back in. Damn it, the line's busy.
That's said. If anybody has any, extra Taylor Swift tickets for this weekend,
All right, let me pin.
All right, Joey Brooklyn. Hi, Joey Brooklyn.
Dawn Marie, I love my children to death, but I would never allow a murder. He would have to go. He's saying that he would turn his son in. And
look, it's hard to say what you would do in that situation, right? I think for anybody, if you're really totally honest about it, it's got to be, I don't know that I could say for certainty exactly what I would do. I might get my son to try and confess, or if it was an accident, to try and get in there and talk about the circumstances, to try and that way.
I would get him a good attorney and tell him to turn himself in. There's nothing that I could do to help you, but that's the best you can do as a parent. Melanie, this is Scott. He's from the Detective Bureau. He's an NYPD, either retired detective or whatever. I'm not sure of Scott's rank, and I apologize, Scott, for not knowing. But he says, Melanie, welcome to Long Island. Fireworks from now till Labor Day.
I know. I kind of forgot for a second too. I've lived here my whole life except for college and law school, but I forgot for a second because I usually don't even know what day it is. You guys, for real.
There we go. Vanita Dusty L. Green says good night at DutyRon and Mel. I guess she had enough of us. Vanita, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out.
Thank you for watching.
All right, so he's answering retired from Transit Robbery Squad. Well, thank you for hanging out. You're always here. We appreciate.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, transit. I was a housing cop, so I appreciate my fellow transit brothers. So thank you for your service and for what you do. Debbie Galloway says, we have the fireworks for over a week now. Wow, yeah, fireworks all over the place. So I guess everyone's chicken to call in.
Everybody wants to come on camera.
Nobody wants. But we're gonna scan the channel, the live chat, and highlight their questions. I didn't see anything. Oh, Nick Wren. Somebody said hello to Nick Wren. Was he in the chat? So he was oh, there he is, Nick. Hey, Nick, good to see you, brother. Hey, Nick, you got to come. I want to highlight Nick because he was the diver who found Kylie Rodney when he was working with Adventures with Purpose. He's no longer with Adventures with Purpose due to situations that everyone knows have unfolded. But Nick is doing his own search group. He has a nonprofit that he's working on getting, or he has it already up and running. And Josh Cantu from Juke Productions, good friends of his. I would love to have Josh, Nick, and all of those guys on here to promote their stuff. I already had Doug Bishop, who was also a part. That's the ZZ Top guy with the beard. They were doing unbelievable work. So that's Nick Wren in the chat, and we're going to have him come on. Again, he dove down and found the remains of Kylie Rodney. So thank you, Nick, for everything that you have done and will continue to do. Not just on the Kylie Rodney case, but on all of the people that you have helped bring their loved ones home after many, many years. So kudos to you, Nick. I actually just stopped our whole show to say hello to Nick because he's that great of a guy. And he's got a heart of gold. So, okay, Mel.
Well, let's see. Tanya GJ says, I would not have blocked the Petito family. I would not take up for anyone who's in the wrong. Yeah, and I think a lot of people have a problem with that. Like, okay, you don't need to block them. You could talk to them and say, I don't know where she is. I don't know anything. She's not here. I think that the silence was, very harmful and caused a lot of stress and distress. And, it didn't have to be that way.
Melanie, look at this compliment. It's coming from Naquita Burt. I hope I said that right. You both handle it all very professionally from a social analyst perspective. I've used your advice in a few cases so far. So
That's fantastic. But I just want to say that what I'm not doing here is giving out legal advice. None of this should be taken as legal advice. But I am glad that you like the way that we present it. And we try to present it in a way that people can understand it without, taking sides or spewing conspiracy theories. And, if I give my opinion, it's just my opinion and only that. And it doesn't make it right. So,
hey, look at this. One of our lead moderators, Miss Donna Marie, she, along with Dawn Marie and Joey Brooklyn, are like the cream of the crop. And she thanks people in the chat. She goes and when people send super thanks, Melanie, I don't know if you're aware of it, but the replay viewers can leave us super thanks. So it's like a super chat when it's live, but while they're watching us on the replay. And kudos to the replay viewers, and a special kudos to the super thanks folks. Miss Donna Marie always notifies me when there's a super thanks. If I miss it, which I rarely do, but sometimes I do, she's instrumental in doing that. She's here. She wants to ask a question. So let's add Miss Donna Marie. Hi, Donna.
Hi, DutyRon. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Donna.
Ooh, she's
Hi.
Yeah.
I don't really have a question to ask, but this is off topic, but before we go for tonight, I just wanted to remind you that today is Maddie's Day.
Oh, right.
Right, it is. That's right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to remind you of that. I didn't want to forget about her.
Donna, you are the best. I had it linked down in the description of our last video that we did to remind everyone to wear pink. I think it was they were saying to wear pink today
and to do like good deeds.
Right.
Yeah.
Random acts of kindness.
Right. Random acts of kindness. I already
for
did.
Maddie Mogan, which is a different case than we're talking about tonight.
I want to just share with the audience one of my random acts of kindness for Madison Mogan, for Maddie Mogan. Today, as you heard, we did a barbecue for our warehouse workers. I work at an Amazon affiliate, so it's a big warehouse, 25,000 and then 35,000 square feet. So it's a huge facility. We took our team and my security team, we barbecued for the warehouse workers. So I was working the grill today, and as we were working outside of one of our loading docks, one of the local homeless folks that were coming by with a shopping cart, I invited him to come over and gave hamburgers, hot dogs, and a whole slew of food for him and his female partner that he was with. So that was my random act of kindness for today in memory of Madison Mogan and all of the victims in Idaho. Did
you wear pink? I have a pink pen? I have some pink on. Did you wear pink at all today? Because that was the.
I have red, but I did my random acts of kindness. I don't have pink, so I'd have to wear pink. I did have a pink T-Mobile shirt, but it was kind of corny and tight, so I didn't want to wear it. It was from years ago, so I didn't put that on. Donna, thank you so much for being brave and coming up here and making a reminder for us.
Okay. Maria B has a good question.
Okay, you're welcome. I'm going to jump back down.
Oh, thanks, Donna, for everything.
You're welcome.
Thank you for.
Okay.
Bye. All right, there she goes. So who had something in the chat you saw?
Maria B says, I heard the Laundrie's lawyer was a defendant in this letter matter. What was that about? The Laundrie's lawyer. Okay, so Mr. Bertolino, who was their lawyer that they hired right away when Brian came back without Gabby, also served as the family spokesperson. And that's the argument here. The argument, they brought him into the case as a defendant, saying that the statement that he made to the press, which was targeted at the Petito family, at Gabby's family, gave them false hope that she was still alive, because he said that he was giving hopes and prayers that there was a search going on and that Gabby would soon be reunited with her family. So he was brought in as a defendant in their second amended complaint.
Right. And that was where they said it was malicious and goes beyond all possible
Outrageous.
bounds
He would.
of decency. And the statement read in part, on behalf of the Laundrie family, it is our hope that the search for Miss Petito is successful and that Miss Petito is reunited with her family. So, yeah. Kind of horrifying. Allison BD girl said, DutyRon, red is your color. You actually said that to me before we went.
I did. It's a great color for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I'll wear it more often, but I wore it specifically because this is for the Gabby Petito Foundation. And I have a hoodie, which I wasn't going to wear because it's kind of warm today. Not hot, but I could have worn a hoodie today, but it was green. So this is the closest thing that I had to pink. I figured I'd wear the red and represent Gabby Petito here tonight. Nick Rin is popping in with a question. I wish that Nick would call in. That would be awesome to have Nick up here. He says, what charges could the mom face? And this is what we talked about in the beginning.
Right.
This is what a lot of folks who follow this case think. What charges, this comes from Nick Rin, could the mom face if they can prove, and there's the key word, can prove to a jury that she knew of the actions of her son and didn't inform law enforcement? There's no charges, obviously, against her. There's no jury to hear that argument. But
well, I think he's saying, like, if they prove it in the civil case, could they press charges against her criminally, right? Yeah. Here's the thing about the burden of a civil case. We know that the burden of a criminal case is beyond a reasonable doubt because we talk about that all the time. The burden of proof in a civil case is the preponderance of the evidence. So all of that means is that, you know, if you think of the scales of justice, the lady, you know, Lady Liberty holding the scales of justice, you just have to tip the scales a little bit in your favor. That's a preponderance of the evidence. That's the burden in a civil case. And it's far, far less than in a criminal case. But somebody had put in the chat earlier that Florida does not have charges against a parent. I was thinking, you know, accessory after the fact, you know, all of those kind of things, right? Conspiracy to conceal a dead body, you know, but somebody said that Florida criminal law does not allow for charges to be brought against a parent as an accessory after the fact.
I heard that.
I can't say whether that's true or not.
I did hear
but
that.
If it is true, then it makes sense why those charges couldn't be brought, because I have a question about that too.
Yeah. But I did hear mention of that quite a few times.
Right.
So Dawn Marie is saying YouTube, #YouTube, please fix the chat glitch. I'm not aware of a chat glitch, but thank you, Nick Rin, for that great question. And that's a question that many people ask, you know, and all along during the course of this case, as it was unfolding, people were saying, you know, why aren't the Laundrie family being charged with criminal charges? It's not that easy, as Attorney Melanie Little just mentioned. It's many more components to it than just saying you are acting like you get, you know, like suspicious. You are hiding information. You need facts. You need evidence. You need proof. So, Naquita Burt, who sent in that complimentary message to you, says she's on Facebook, as you guys could see. So many crimes, but no prosecution, unfortunately. Again, those are opinions. We don't know of any crimes. Right. If there was a crime that was spelled out and there was probable cause, the FBI and the local police would definitely have no problem coming forward and putting those cuffs on somebody. But they didn't have it. You can't create something that you don't have. Hey, look, there's our friend Cindy Hollenbeck.
Oh, hi, Cindy.
From over in Pullman, Washington. From
she came on the show the other night with us.
She was on with us, yes. I envision her dog barking and jumping up on her and then her freezing up again. And we having to click her off the screen and bring her back in. Lola Nobles, thank you for being here. I think of Jennifer Noble when I see her, but it's Noble, not Nobles. You need evidence. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we stayed live an hour and 15 almost. I really do appreciate your insight, Melanie. I mean,
Magical Mary coming in with the statute for us. It's Florida Statute 777.03. which I will look that up. Thank you for that. And that will explain maybe why no criminal charges could be brought against them. Somebody said change the law.
Right.
You know, I represented 50 or 60 victims of clergy sex abuse against the diocese in New York. And I will tell you that it took us 20 years to have the law changed to allow these cases to be brought, because the statute of limitations was so short. They were all thrown out on statute of limitations. So yeah, we'd love to change the law, but in New York, it took 20 years.
Melanie, would you be
Things take a
willing to do a
long
show?
time.
Would you be willing to do a show about that with me?
Yeah, I mean, that was my thing. That was that's what I did. I fought that fight for a very, very long time. And
wow.
You know, and
I'm sure our viewers would love to hear about that. If you're interested in hearing about Melanie's battle, the 20-year battle, that's 2 decades, folks. Leave us a message down below in the comment section or send it over to DutyRon.com. Natasha Richardson, bye. She says, Ron, Mel, and chat. Thank you for hanging out here for the whole hour. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Bam Sins says, thank you, DutyRon and beautiful Melanie.
Oh, you're very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
If I said victims, I didn't mean to say victims. I meant to say survivors of clergy sex abuse on Long Island. Those were my clients.
There you go. Melanie's always keeping it real and keeping everything in check and dotting her I's and crossing her T's. God knows when I send her messages, she cringes because my grammar and spelling sucks. If you guys can, please, again, if you're not yet subscribed, I would say please consider hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up for
the like button. It's very important.
The like button, thumbs up, share it out for Melanie and I. Popeye's whistling for Melanie and myself. He's cheering us on. If you're not, again, yet part of the Crime Time with DutyRon community, we bring on experts from all of the trades. If it's not in our lane, we yield to the professionals. Ed Wallace will be returning soon, and he's going to bring us back his CSI and crime scene and evidence collection expertise. Ed is still a part of this channel. He is still my co-host. Again, lots of you guys have been asking for him. Be patient, be understanding. He's got a lot of stuff going on, and he will be back. Peggy is always asking me for an Oscar update. He's doing fine. He's missing 7 teeth out of 48, but he is cool. When he smiles, you can still see teeth in his mouth. My Oscar's, he's chill. Matter of fact, I heard him as we were live running around upstairs on our wood floors because you could hear him slipping and sliding. He goes through this little nightly burst of energy and he just runs around like a maniac. And my wife's like, stop, you're going to hurt yourself. Stop. I can hear her. I heard her before.
He's probably afraid of the fireworks.
He just does it every night.
Fireworks,
every night. Yeah, we have him, but I keep we kind of like keep it where he can't hear it. Now he's kind of going deaf a little bit, so that's our advantage. So Shari says, Nevada Pup, DutyRon, where can we find the court docs for the laundries? WFLA.com. JB's got it all on there. And Brian Enton, he's got docs on Twitter. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give Josh a little bit of work. I'm going to have him post all the docs in this case on DutyRon.com. So give us about 24 hours and we'll post all the documents on DutyRon.com. And if it's all right with you, Melanie, I want to put a link to your Instagram on DutyRon.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram.
I'm going to put her link in DutyRon.com on the website, but I'll also have it here in the descriptions. So everybody's chiming in about the dogs. We've successfully changed the topic as of right now, but it gives us a time to wrap up and say thank you to everybody for being here. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Melanie Little, we thank you for your time on a Thursday evening. We hope that you guys all have a safe and happy Memorial Day weekend. Be careful if you're driving out there. There's lots of drunk people out on the roads, and be careful with with your travels. It's one of the heaviest traveled weekends of the year, and there's that inherent risk. But I'm not saying don't go out. I'm just saying be careful. That's
always one of the biggest weekends for roadblocks as well. So if you're going to have a couple of drinks, call
Uber it. Either one. Yeah, instead of 10
or taxi.
Instead of $10,000 or $12,000, $15,000, take that. Even if it costs you $100, $200 to Uber home, trust me, it'll be cheaper. I love comments like this coming from Deborah McDermott. She says, "Thank you both for a great show." Well, we do appreciate that.
Thank you for watching.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, like I said, without the viewers, we have nothing. We could,
right? Would it be a show if nobody watched? It wouldn't even be a show.
Melanie and I could do, and any of my guests, and Ed included, obviously Ed's co-host here, we could pre-record shows and do this and just upload them.
That's what most people do. Not a lot of people do live shows anymore. There's a couple, but a lot of people just upload videos that they do and edit. And what we say is raw and emotional and unscripted.
No script. Yep. So yeah, it's good stuff. All right, guys, on behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Melanie Little, I'm going to wish you guys a good evening. Stand by for the outro. That's from our cop team. Kara, that's Ed Wallace's dog. Oscar, my dog. And Popeye, my bird. He's sitting here whistling.
One quick thing. Thank you, Joey Brooklyn. God bless our troops who sacrificed their lives for the freedoms that we have.
Joey Brooklyn, thank you for
Happy Memorial Day weekend to you too.
I will be live during Memorial Day weekend to honor the troops. Tomorrow, I'm going to be at the air show in Long Island. It's the practice for the air show. So we will have, I'll do a live stream from the Jones Beach Air Show tomorrow.
It's too loud. You're never going to be able to do that, but good luck.
I've done it. Check out my replays. It comes out great.
Maybe I'll meet you there.
So tomorrow we'll be live from the air show with Mrs. DutyRon. I'll have my chair, my sun skin approved hat, and a couple of things of water, no alcohol, and we'll be enjoying the air show and the troops. Thank you to everybody for being here. We're going to sign off. Peace and love from Melanie and DutyRon. Thanks, guys.
Night, everybody.